There's a kind of ad that has become really popular in the marketing world in the recent years, which is user-generated content. User-generated content are videos generated by users of a product giving a short review or their testimonial to convince the audience to buy the product. There's agencies that take care of generating this kind of content for certain businesses, but the reality is that these agencies are not going to last long if that's the only thing that they do. Because with AI, we can now generate videos that look realistic using just a picture and a simple prompt of the product. And so right here is an example of a UGC that was generated by AI.
I tried these pads twice a day for just 2 nights, and honestly, my skin looks so much clearer and brighter already. If you want quick results, you have to try this.
So this was generated using an AI model called Sora 2 by OpenAI. This is a video generating model that's also capable of producing audio and hyper-realistic images of people. And so in today's video, I want to show you how you can implement a system into your business that could generate these types of ads for your product at a very low cost and high quality. So this is the system right here, and I'm going to quickly run you down over how it works before we go into the specifics on how to set up the model and the prompting and all those other things. So pretty much we're going to be submitting a form. In this case, we're just using the N8N forms, and we're going to be able to upload an image and then write a prompt. So the idea is that we take a picture, or we find a picture of the product that we want to create an ad for. We upload it in here, and then we give a simple prompt of like maybe what the person must say about the product, maybe what the testimonial should say, or anything specific that we want them to highlight. We're going to get those 2 inputs in there, and then what's going to happen is we're going to upload this file into Google Drive so that we can get a link, because in order to generate the video, we need an image URL, and thankfully, using Google Drive, we can get that link. Then we're going to be using a prompt agent that's going to take the input that we gave it on the specifics and generate a more formal prompt that's going to be working really good with the model that generates the video. After that, we're going to go ahead and generate the video. This is just a simple loop that's going to trigger the action to generate it, and then it's going to constantly check if it has been completed. Once it's completed, we're going to get the video, get a URL for that video. Usually this URL is going to be a URL that if you click it, it's going to automatically download it into your computer. So we don't really want to do that. What we want to do is we want to download the video inside the automation and upload it into Drive. This is just so that, let's say if you have a folder in Google Drive where you want all your ads to be stored, they go directly in there. Obviously you can do it the other way, but it's a little bit more manual. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing we want to understand is that we'll be using a third-party platform called Key.ai. This is a platform that in a server, they're hosting an instance of Sora 2, which is the model used to generate this type of videos. So if I search Sora 2, then we'll see that it takes us to OpenAI website, which is the owner of this model, the ones who created the model. OpenAI is known for, ChatGPT. And you can create videos through their own platform. Like if you log in and then you pay a certain amount, they give you credits. And then with those credits, you can give prompts, upload images, pretty much the same thing that we're going to be doing. But you have to do it through their user interface. And also it's more expensive. So that's why we're going to be using Key.ai. This is not like a ripoff of OpenAI's model. It's just cheaper and easier to access through something like an automation. So back over here, if we go into the AI video API, we'll see that they have Sora 2. So let me click on that. It's going to bring us to an overview of their different endpoints. If you don't know what an API is just a way to communicate different softwares together. So this is like a documentation on how we can communicate Sora with N8N and then manipulate the data inside there. As you can see, they have different options that we can choose from. So we can do a text to video action. This is mainly just providing a prompt directly to the model with no image or any sort of visual context. It's just our own words. Obviously, the better we define what we're looking for, the better the output's going to be. Then we have Sora 2 image to video. This is very similar. We're also going to get the text to video portion of it, but we're going to have the ability to upload an image alongside so that it uses it as a reference. This is the one we're going to be using. There's also Sora 2 Pro, which is very similar to the regular Sora 2. There's not much of a difference. It's a little bit more expensive. So we're going to stick to Sora 2, the base model, and see what results we get. So if I click on Sora 2 image to video, as you can see, they provide you an example here. This is a prompt that they give and also the image that they uploaded. So from this image, the model was able to create this video right here. So it's pretty cool. Like you see, it also generates like music, which is part of the audio model that they use. And we have different options that we can play around with. So like the ratio of the image and also the number of frames, which is just a number of seconds. In this case, we're just going to stick to 10 seconds because UGC is supposed to be short ads and also straight to the point. If we look at the cost here, we can see that Sora 2 costs 30 credit, which is $0.15 per each 10-second video with audio. So that's roughly what we're going to be spending, which is 15 cents every video or every ad that we generate, which is way, way cheaper than what it would cost to go out to an agency and have them use real people, hand them your product, and then record actual videos of them talking about it. So going back over here, I'm going to break it down very simple for you. So if you saw the form, it's very simple. We're just grabbing an image in the prompt. For this, you want to use an on-form submission node. Basically, what you're going to be putting in here is the different fields. So I went ahead and I gave it a title. So UGC ad generator, short description. Then I added 2 form elements. The first form element is going to be an image. I did turn on required fields so that we're not able to submit the form without uploading an image. Then I should probably turn off multiple files because we just want to upload 1 image. And then we have 2 accepted file types. You just want to accept JPEG and PNG because those are image file types. And then we have another field, which is just called prompt. That's a text type. And we're going to make this required as well. Then what we want to do is we want to upload a file into Google Drive. So for this, you just look for Drive, and then you'll see there are different endpoints. You're going to choose upload a file and also share file. So we're going to have 2 separate ones, and I'm going to show you the configurations in here. I've already connected my credential. As I've said in my other videos, this is a very sort of technical process to do if you've never set up your credentials before, but I'll be providing you guys with a link in the description that you can watch, and it'll guide you through how to set this up so that you connect it to the correct Google Drive account that you want to use. So back in here, I'm going to give a file a name. So the file that we are uploading through the form is going to be renamed into whatever we put in here. Then we're going to add the location that we wanted. I just created a folder called UGC Ad Gen Tutorial. Then for the share file node, this is important because we want to make the image publicly accessible so that the model can access it, because we're going to be providing the URL of that image so that it can read it and see it. And so I just copied an old execution into my workflow. But if you look into share file, we're going to be mapping the file that we want to make public using their ID. So whenever you upload a file in the previous node, you're going to be getting an ID over here. And this is what you're going to drag and drop into the ID. Then you want to make sure the role is reader, and then type anyone. This means anyone's going to have access to it. Then after that, we're going to have a prompting agent that's going to be generating a prompt to be sent into the image generating model. For this, what I'm using is a user message, which is going to be our input. This is just going to be the user prompt, which is what's submitted on the form. So what I did is I grabbed this prompt right here, I drag and dropped it into here, and then we have our system prompt, which is the actual instructions that I've given to the agent so that it would write a formal prompt to the model. So if we quickly skim over this, you can see the title is UGC Video Prompt Enhancer, and then we have a task, which is to take the user's input prompt, which can be vague or lacking detail, and transform into a comprehensive detailed prompt that will generate a UGC-style product review video. Then we have some critical requirements here, such as the style and declaration, the person description, the setting, the way they're handling the product, the camera style, the script or dialogue of what they're going to be saying, any technical specifications, and then some other guardrails such as the product-specific guidance, example transformation, which is showing a before and after of what a prompt should look like. So once this gives us a better prompt, what we're going to do is we're going to make a call to the model. And so if you go back into Key.ai and go back to the documentation for Sora 2, we're going to be choosing the image to video model. And then if you see over here, there's a section that says API. This is going to give us the documentation and the steps that we need to follow in order to be able to successfully call the model. And you're going to see that we have 2 endpoints. So we have an endpoint or an action to create a task. This is going to be where we send the prompt and the image to generate the task. Then we have a query task, which is going to be basically asking the model if it's done generating the video. And the logic that we're going to follow is we're going to send the image and the prompt to the model. The model's going to start generating the video. And then we're going to keep asking them if they have completed that video or not. So it's going to be a loop with like a 5-second buffer in between. And every time it's going to check if it's been completed or not. Once it's completed, then we're going to grab that video and we're going to upload it back into Google Drive. And so to set this up really quick, what you want to do is you want to come all the way down and look for the request example and make sure that you're looking at the CURL or curl, which is going to be useful for us to set up the HTTP really fast. So you want to copy this, click down on copy, go back over here, and you're going to look for the HTTP request. And the reason why we need to do it this way is because I can't search over here like Key.ai because it doesn't exist. It's not a native integration. So that's why we got to go into the API documentation and do it manually. But thankfully, using the curl, it's going to be much easier and faster. So we just do import curl, hit paste, import. And you can see everything gets pretty much filled out. And we're going to have to change a few things here. And one of them is going to be your API key. And for every call that we do, we're going to be needing our API key, which is going to basically look for our account and get the credits out of there so that it can generate the video. But we don't want to do that every single time because it's not very safe to have your API key hard-coded into every single node. Plus, if you have a lot of nodes that request to this API, then you're going to have to change it manually every single time if you decide to like refresh your key or just generate a new key. So an easier way to do that is just to delete this and go into authentication and choose generic credential type. Then we're going to use headers. And then as you can see, I already have mine over here, which is Key.ai. And now what you're going to do is you're going to click on add a new credential. Then the name is just going to be authorization. And then the value is going to be our API key, but remember it has that bearer. And then the token. So in order to get your token, you're going to go into over here, back into key. You're going to click on market, then API key. And then you're going to generate an API key. You're going to give it a name, and that's going to give you the key. And then what you want to do is you want to go back into N8N and just paste it over here, give it a name, hit save. And then you should be seeing something like this, whatever name you gave it. Then there's certain things that we're going to be editing in here. So for example, the prompt, we're going to be passing the prompt that the agent generates. Over here, we have image URLs. We're only going to be passing one. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to show you guys how it's set up. I have my credential, header auth. And then this is the body that I'm sending, which is just the model. And our input is going to be the prompt and the image URLs. For the prompt, we have whatever comes out of the agent. And then our image URLs, this is very important. You're going to want to write down this website. And the only thing we're going to be replacing over here is going to be the ID. And that ID is going to be getting mapped from the uploaded file node. So this ID right here, we're dragging it and dropping it in the middle of this URL, because what this URL is going to allow us to do is to open the image in a URL by itself, which is what the model requires. Then the aspect ratio, want to do portrait. So if you've looked at UGC videos or ads before, it's always as if someone was recording on their own phone. And that's why it looks portrait and vertical. And also the number of frames that we're going to be using is 10. As we saw before, the number of frames just means that it's going to be a 10-second long video. Then we have the get status endpoint. Same thing. If you go back into the documentation, there's a request example, but this time we're going to be using the query task. So we're going to go down and do the request example. Same thing. Copy this, go back into N8N, import, paste it. Same thing with your credential. For this time, if you did it on the previous step, then you're going to be able to delete whatever the URL prefills and then just click on generic credential type, header auth, and your credentials should be safe. So after that, we're going to be using a task ID to check if it has been generated or not. So for that, you're going to grab the task ID that's going to be the output of the previous node, like over here. You're just going to drag this and you're going to drop it in here. And then you're going to see that our output for this call is going to look something like this. You're going to have a success, but then we're also going to have object called data, which in this object, we have a state. This is the state of the current execution. So we don't want to be looking at the message because this is always going to say success. We want to look at the state. So if it says success, it means that it has been generated. Otherwise, you would say something like generating. I'm not 100% sure. We're going to check that later. But if once we have that success, then we're going to have an if that is going to check for that state. And if it's equal to success, we're going to go through the true branch. Otherwise, we're going to go down to false and we're going to add a wait. I put 10 seconds, but you can put 5 seconds. I mean, I think it takes around 1 minute for it to generate the video or so. Then aside from the state, we're going to be getting the result. So what we want to do is we want to grab that result and we're going to add it into a variable. And what I did was I grabbed this result JSON over here. And then if you take a look, then I'm going to separate these two just so that it's not confusing. This is an array, and really the only URL we need is the first one. So that's why I'm using some logic over here in order to extract that value. So for example, here I'm doing this, but I'm also adding the JSON.parse and also the .result URL 0 because we're getting the index 0 of this array down here. So I'm going to delete this. Now we got our URL in a variable. We want to go ahead and do an HTTP request to that URL. So I just drag and drop that variable in the URL section. And then what that's going to do, it's going to download the video inside N8N. That way it gives us a way for us to take a look at it, but also a way that we can send it into Google Drive. So if I hit view over here, it's that same video that I showed in the beginning. And then we want to add an upload node from Drive. So I would go into here and hit Drive, upload a file. It's going to look something like this. What you want to do is you want to input data field name to be data, which is going to be the output that we're getting from the HTTP request. Then we're going to give that file a name. You're going to select where you want it, and then it should upload it straight into your Google Drive. So that's pretty much it. Why don't we go ahead and test it? I'm going to go into Amazon. I'm going to look for a random product. So I found this one right here. I actually looked up skincare because I know those are very popular when it comes to UGC. And don't really know what it is. It's toner pads. So I'm going to click on this first image, and I'm going to screenshot it and save it into my downloads so that I can then use it and upload it into the form. So I just take a picture of that, going back into N8N, and I'm going to execute the workflow. So right now I'm going to choose the image. Should be this one. Now I'm going to give it a prompt. So I'm going to say something like, please give a review that these toner pads are the best and that whoever's making the video got results in less than 24 hours by having a more smoother and clear skin. So I'm gonna hit submit, and that's gonna trigger the automation. So we're gonna let that run. And now that I hit the prompt agent while it's generating the video, let's go ahead and look at the difference. So the prompt that I initially said was, please give a review if the toner pads are the best. So it's a little vague, like it's not too much detail. And so this is what the agent did. It made it better. So a realistic UGC style video featuring a young woman in her 20s with straight shoulder length hair. So it gives a lot more specifics on what it is, and it adds whatever we prompt it to do. So, and then it sends it over to the model. As you see here, if we go into the input, this is what we sent, the prompt, and also the image URL of the image that got uploaded into files. So I'm just gonna let this run, and I'm gonna speed it up, and then we'll see the results. So it looks like it's still running. If you see here, the state is generating. That's what it's going to say while it's waiting. So we'll give it a couple of more seconds here. And it looks like it just finished. So you see now it changed into success. That's why it went through. And if I go into my drive, I have it over here. You can see that the UGC video just got uploaded. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time for it to be processing, but it's now going to be saved into Google Drive. But we can also take a look over here by looking at the HTTP that took care of getting that video. We hit view.
Seriously, I saw my skin get smoother and clearer in less than 24 hours. You have to try this if you want quick results.
Like, are you kidding me? This looks so real to me. And the image is pretty spot on, like the form of the product. So if we look at the original, you can see there's a bit of mismatch there, but it's close enough. So I would assume the Pro model will do a little better, but that's actually pretty good. And you can play around with this and see what works the best in terms of the image that you use as the reference, because that's going to depend too. If your image is too blurry or if your product packaging has too many text, then it might not really get it 100%. I'm very confident that we're very close to that. I mean, the improvements that these models have made in just the past year are immense, and they're just going to keep getting better. So this is a very good way for companies and small businesses that may not have the money to invest in a UGC or marketing agency to generate their own ads for literally 15 cents for a 10-second video, which looks very realistic and has high quality audio. So if you found this helpful and if you would like to test it yourself, I'm going to be leaving a link down below for you to download the blueprint. It's going to take you into my Gumroad. You just put in there your information, and then you'll have access to this full blueprint with the prompts and even the HTTP request set up already. You just have to replace your API key. But other than that, you should be all good to go. And if you find it helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel and dropping a like. I'm going to make sure to make more videos like this. But if there's anything specific that you would like to see me do, please comment down below, and I'll see you on the next one.